Hello and welcome to SweetSpotDFS. I have a course fit video for you guys for the 2021 Sentry Tournament of Champions. If you're with me in yesterday's pod/video, you would know I had a preview for this tournament, and I covered past results, historical salaries, and the bucket system. Now, the historical salaries are based off of DraftKings, and there wasn't much of a bucket system. We haven't played golf in the last 4 weeks, so we're not going to have a last week bucket. And it's hard to do a last year bucket when it's an extremely limited field. There are usually 30 golfers in this field. This year there's 42, and that's primarily because they extended it because of COVID to basically anyone who made it to the Tour Championship and had not won that prior year. So we have a little bit deeper of a field, but it's still not enough. And there isn't much edge to be had with the bucket system. But the video/pod is definitely still worth the listen/watch, and I highly encourage you to do so. So what will I cover in this course fit video? Well, I'm going to be looking at the tournament fact sheets. We'll go over the weather forecast for this tournament's being played. We'll do a course breakdown and then talk about golfers' demographics. Now, that will cover their shot shape, which we'll also discuss in the course breakdown. It'll also cover where they're from and where they went to college. Try to get some kind of edge, as to what region of the world they live in and how closely related it is to where the tournament's being played. And then I will look at grass stats and course history to try to even break it down a little bit further and wrap it all up with the best course fit plays. Now, I want to have a little bit more purpose with that, where I want to give you my favorite play in each price tier, and how I want to tier it out is 10K and above, 9 to 10, 8 to 9, 7 to 8, and 6 to 7. Now, for this tournament, we're only gonna have probably 6 to 10 golfers in each of those price points, but that's good. At least we'll find kind of our favorite plays within those. So that's what you can look forward to at the end of the video. I do have timestamps in the description. I also have chapter mode enabled. If you're not familiar with that little red progress bar, either on desktop or mobile, it's cut out into segments, chapters technically, and it will show you which part of the video those segments are. I mean, it will actually, if you are on desktop, you can hover your mouse over it. If you're on mobile, it's a little different. You actually have to click and hold the little progress bar to get to the point you want to see. So it's a little trickier there, but you certainly can preview what the next segments are, and you don't have to go into the description to find the timestamps. So that's available for you. Let's go ahead and get into the tournament fact sheets. Okay. So we are at the Kapalua Resort at the Plantation Golf Course at Kapalua, which is in Lahaina, Hawaii. This course the tournament has been played at this course since 1999. So if you want to look at course history, you can go back to 99 and go forward. The PGA Tour has been here for the tournament champions each and every year. One thing I want to clear up in the preview, I didn't think actually Bill Coore or Ben Crenshaw created this golf course, but they certainly did. I just had seen that in 2019 there were renovations done, and that's why I didn't give them credit, but it is a Bill Coore and Ben Crenshaw designed golf course. It's going to be played at a par 73, which is kind of unique, because we don't really see the PGA Tour playing a par 73 that often. We see 72, that's obviously your more traditional par layout, but we also see 71 and 70 quite a bit. The yardage is 70, it's going to be a hair under 76, but when we get to the course breakdown, I gave all the max yardages that the PGA Tour used last year. It goes over 7,600, so it's a very long golf course, and it can be set up pretty long. Stimp, we're going to have 10 and a half. Now, what I like to do is kind of compare it to the year prior to see if they sped up the greens or anything like that. I want to find some kind of, differences. As you can see, the stimp meter is nearly the same. Par and yardage is nearly the same as well. Obviously, same golf course, same resort. And if you look at average green size, it's always good to see all this stuff just to see if there are any changes, which there are not. We scroll down, we can find the turf grass. And one thing I should mention, you can find these tournament fact sheets by visiting the gcsaa.org. Tournament fact sheets can be found at the bottom of the website. So you certainly can go there yourself, look at this for yourself. But we are on, the greens are Tiff Eagle Bermuda grass, but tees, fairways, and rough are Celebration Bermuda grass. And I want to say the difference between the two, I think Celebration doesn't require much care. If I remember correctly, when it comes to this Bermuda grass, it's a little bit tougher, which is nice for, you know, a superintendent. You don't really have to put too much water on it or too much fertilizer or anything like that. It will retain, you know, its greenness, its shape, its thickness a little bit better. I just can't remember. I think Tiff Eagle, you can actually cut them down lower, and that's why they use Tiff Eagle. That's just what my memory serves me. I could be completely wrong with it. I don't think it really matters. Sure, that these are two different Bermuda strains, but I don't think it's going to matter all that often or all that much. So one noticeable difference I've seen from year to year. So this is, just so you can see, 2021 setup. If I scroll down and just highlight this so you can see the differences, we go down to the 2020 setup and look at the Bermuda grass. One thing to note is how short they cut the grass from year to year. So you can see the greens are at 0.105 inches. When we go here, it's 0.115. Now, you would automatically think since this is longer, it's going to be slower. That's not the case. It's all about firmness. Sure, the grass can act as Velcro, can slow it down a little bit. But if you have firm greens, they're going to roll a little fast. If you have spongier greens, they will roll slower. So I'm guessing they have the greens a little bit firmer if they can run the stimp at 10, 10 and a half. I don't know. I'm not positive on that. A lot of this also is based off of how much rainfall they have gotten prior to this tournament. I'm sure cutting it lower means you can actually, means they probably had enough water to do so. Keeping it a little bit longer will retain the health of the grass if there isn't a lot of rain, but I don't think there's much to really go by. I mean, it's like, we're not even talking about a quarter of an inch difference. It's like a 1/10 of an inch, a 100th of an inch. You can see the tees from last year, this year cut down a little shorter. Rough is going to be a little shorter as well. Same with the fairways. So actually rough is nearly the same, 2.5 inches. Fairways 4.75 last year, or 0.475, 0.375 this year. So you can see a few more of the additional notes. Like we are on the 2021 tournament fact sheet, but I don't really see anything different that really requires any attention. So we can move on to the weather forecast. So like I said, we are in Hawaii, or the PGA Tour's in Hawaii. You can see Lahaina. I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce that one, but we'll call it I want to say it's Lahaina. It's got to be Lahaina. Hawaii, I mean, it's just outside of Maui, I believe. The one thing we want to look at when it comes to weather, sure, we want to see sun. If there's rain, we want to talk about it. We want to talk about how much rain we're going to see. It looks relatively clear throughout the whole weekend, Thursday through Sunday. And the biggest piece of weather forecast we want to look at is the wind. Now, this is usually the average mile per hour throughout the day. It doesn't look like it's going to be too crazy. It's going to be definitely prevalent, but it's not going to be that huge of a factor. And again, it's a no-cut event, so everyone's going to be playing all 4 rounds of golf. So it's depending on when you tee off, it's going to be different. Looks like kind of during the day, it's going to be a little windier than the night, but it's the night. They're not golfing then. So it doesn't look like we need to worry too much about weather. Now, if you wanted to be safe, if you have the stats, I would say maybe look at how golfers have fared in recorded like heavier winds, but usually your best ball strikers are going to be the best wind players. I think you're going to find a little better correlation of golfers who do well in the wind having great ball striking stats. If you want to challenge me on it, I'd love to hear it. I want to see the stats to prove I'm wrong. But that's just my take on it. So I wouldn't worry too much about wind, but you certainly can. All right, going to a course breakdown. Now, I usually like to look at each hole of a golf course. I either go to their website and look at a hole by hole video or something like that to see from tee to green what it looks like. But Kapalua doesn't provide it, which is interesting. It's a Troon managed golf course. Most Troon golf courses are good with actually providing like a hole by hole flyover. But I think it's really up to the director of golf or the golf pro to do that and put it on the website. What I had to do is I like to go to a website called bluegolf.com. It's course.bluegolf.com. Go to the tournament. I mean, I usually just Google this and then find it. So I usually like to say like Kapalua Resort Plantation flyover or whatever, and Blue Golf will show up. And then it gives me all of these holes. Obviously, you can see hole 18. I'm sure you guys can recognize it if you do follow golf. It definitely does that little dogleg left. This does not do it justice. So I can't really see the contours of the course, but I do know what hole 18 looks like. I don't recall what the other 17 holes look all that much like. But looking at all of these images and trying to figure out, what shot shape is required, I'm a competitive golfer, and prior to a golf tournament, especially at a golf course that I have not yet had the opportunity to practice at, I'll obviously look at a yardage book. This is no different than looking at a yardage book. And in fact, I think it's called their yardage book or something like that on this site. I'm not positive, but pretty sure it is. And it actually gives you kind of a description of the hole down here as well. Now, these are satellite images. You can see kind of, where the fairway is and try to determine where the rough, where the fairway ends and where the rough begins, that kind of thing. But for the most part, you can click and drag, where you think a PGA Tour Pro is going to be or where, trouble will lurk. For the most part, when you look throughout all of this, if we go back to my spreadsheet, off the tee, you will hear it from many people. This is not going to be a surprise if you're listening to other podcasts, but it's pretty wide open. There isn't a required shot shape or ball flight on any of these holes. If you do see one, it's primarily because I am saying this hole, it would benefit having that shot shape. Like at the most extreme example, like having a fade off the tee on hole 15 will set you up, will put you in a really good position to attack that green. If you were too far left, obviously you can see the notes here, drives too far left will require a draw. Like there's just no way around it because trees guard the left side. So you would have to draw it. And therefore, that's why I have this. It's all dependent on where the golfers are going to position off the tee. But to save time and not to really go that far into this, you can see off the tee, pretty much it's dominated by any ball flight, any shot shape, does not matter. When we look at approach, it's a tie. 2 holes, I think, benefit having a fade. 2 holes benefit having a draw, that being the last hole. And why I think some of this is important. Now, Justin Thomas won this last year, but he had troubles on hole 18 on the last day. And I think a lot of it comes from his inability to hit a draw as well as he can hit a fade. he's primarily known as a fade golfer. He's a right-handed golfer that curves it left to right. That, in a nutshell, is the best ball flight to have for a right-handed golfer because it provides more control of the golf ball. And I always say my moniker here during these course breakdowns is if you do see any, if any of these holes are dominated by whatever shot shape, if it doesn't matter on that hole, always prefer the fade. So to me, having a fade is the primary ball flight you would want or shot shape you would want for any hand, right or left hand. But for hole 18, again, JT had issues with this last year, and I think, again, it had a lot to do with his inability to hit a draw. He can hit a draw, don't get me wrong, but that hole requires such precision when hitting a draw, especially when you have a fairway wood in your hand trying to reach the green in two. If you can't just do it on command, like, say, a Patrick Cantlay, who draws the ball, that's his natural shot shape. Same with Patrick Reed, who was in that playoff with JT. They just kept playing that hole over and over again. You should have given the, well, I'm sure he probably did, but you should have given the advantage to Pat Reed. So for that last hole, it might matter. Same thing applied to Tommy Fleetwood in the Honda Championship. It was just cooking right along, and most of that course does not require shot shape one way or another. Got to the last hole, needed to make something happen. It required a fade. Tommy typically hits a draw, puts it in the water, and the rest is history, basically. So I only mention that because it might matter. If it changes your anchor player, if you want to call it that, or your core, changing from, say, let me look to see. I already forgot who's at the top here. Say like Bryson, Xander, Patrick Cantlay, or Patrick Reed. Any four of those primarily draw the golf ball. Same with Webb Simpson. Would that get you from Justin Thomas or John Rahm to a Bryson or a Xander? Maybe. And if that's the case, then so be it. Like, hey, you need to live by your own convictions. Mine, I don't think it's going to matter. I think the winner of this, if it's going to be JT or Dustin Johnson, they're probably going to lap the field. If they're on their game, I don't think hole 18 is going to matter. So I say all of that only to come back and say it's probably not going to matter. But for you guys, it's all up to you. You guys have to make your own decisions. So I want to leave that with you. Now, I kind of already showed a little bit of what the next segment's going to be. We're going to look at the demographics, as I like to call it. So golfer information. You can see in the white here, we can see shot shape, home state, home region, college state, college region. Now, we're in Hawaii. Is anybody here from Hawaii? No. Now, you might think Tony Finau is from Hawaii, but he isn't. Like, he comes from Tonga and Samoan descent, which is obviously islands very close to Hawaii. Well, I shouldn't say so close, but in the Pacific Ocean, south of Hawaii. I will say this. Don't get caught up in that. Like, he might have, like, Hawaiian heritage or culture or whatever, but he just, that's not going to be a benefit, is all I'm trying to get at. Again, we don't have anyone here from Hawaii. Maybe we use Japan, as the closest, I don't know what you want to call it, like region, geography to Hawaii. I'm sure it's very similar in many ways. I've never been to Japan. I've also never been to Hawaii, so I wouldn't know, just looking at it. But maybe Hideki gets a bump. And Hideki has played well at this tournament, so it might be worth it. Maybe even the South Korean, like Sung J.M. I don't know. I don't think so. But again, it's your own convictions. So now that I have that out of the way, no golfer grew or lives in Hawaii at the moment, and no golfer went to college in Hawaii. So the regional aspect of this, totally gone. There's no benefit to it. We can look at shot shapes. And what I'm going to do is first sort by salary and then sort by fade versus draw. And we'll look at the fade golfers first. It's pretty much dominated. You know, the fades are, let's see here. We have a total of 42 golfers. I kind of already knew that. 42 golfers, and it looks like I don't have shot shapes for these golfers. But I think if I remember correctly, now Ryan Palmer has notoriously always been a draw golfer, but he has worked in a fade. He's moved to a fade, I should say. I do know Carlos Ortiz hits a fade. It's a pretty pronounced one. And I don't know out of these three golfers what their shot shape is. So let me go ahead and rechange this. So Mackenzie Hughes, Stuart Sink, Michael Thompson. Off the top of my head, I don't know what their shot shape is. Nick Taylor and Harris English are really the only two golfers that I would deem can hit the shot, can work the ball both directions. I've seen it with success. That's why I do have it as both. The reason that none of these other golfers have both, although they could shape it both directions, is I just have not seen success yet doing that. So out of 42 golfers, and I should say 39 since we're going to remove these three and these two, that makes 37. So out of 37 golfers between a draw or a fade, we have 16 that draw the golf ball. We have 21 that fade the golf ball. So almost a pretty close even split. Your top fade golfers for salary wise: DJ, Dustin Johnson, Justin Thomas, John Rahm, Victor Hovland, Hideki Matsuyama, Tony Finau, Colin Morikawa. I could keep going on. Sung J Im is down there, 8,200. A worthy name, you know, to put there. Our draw golfers: Bryson DeChambeau. Now, he won the U.S. Open hitting a fade. Like, he hit fades on a couple of the holes. I'm pretty sure he can hit a fade. I just haven't seen it enough times to give him that success of being able to hit the shot both, you know, shot shapes both ways. Xander primarily draws the golf ball. I believe he's even said it himself. He prefers hitting a draw. Same with Patrick Cantlay. And we all know Patrick Reed has to do kind of a whirly-twirly finish in order to hit a fade. So he can hit a fade, but I'm going to say it's not that good of a fade. And then Webb Simpson and Cam Smith, Joaquin Niemann are the other two golfers, or other three golfers, notable for hitting draws. We will visit this later. We will look at everything as a whole after we look at grass stats and course history. So what I'm going to do, because I already forgot to do this, no rows. One of those things you just kind of forget to do if you haven't done it in a while. We'll go here. Oh yeah, I could just, never mind. I knew how to do that. There we go. Perfect. This is what I want. Okay, so we scroll over here and look at the course fit portion. I want to cover grass stats first and then look at course history. So let's go ahead and sort by overall Bermuda. Your top golfer is Dustin Johnson. And this is going from 2013 to this exact date. This includes the RSM Classic. That was the last Bermuda event prior to this event. OHL was played right after that. I should say the Mayakoba Golf Classic. But the RSM Classic is baked into these results. I don't think DJ played. Pretty sure he didn't. But that's what you can see here with overall Bermuda. The guy dominates on Bermuda. So he right away is kind of one of my favorites at this tournament. I will be playing quite a bit of Dustin Johnson. Surprisingly enough, Patrick Cantlay comes in second. And let me just name off the top we'll name off the top 10. It's DJ, Patrick Cantlay, Webb Simpson, Colin Morikawa, Justin Thomas, Scotty Scheffler, Jon Rahm, Mark Leishman, Sergio Garcia, and Adam Scott. Sung Jae Im is basically 0.14 points behind Adam Scott, so he's, close in that mix. And then Hideki's right after that. So that was in ascending order. So DJ again at the top of that list, and I just went down the list. Looking at the top 10 Bermuda percentages. Now this is the percent that they finish in a top 10 in a Bermuda event. Jon Rahm is actually at the top, 47.06%. So he's kind of making a really good case of being a better pick than, say, DJ or JT based off of what we see there. Now, all that says is that 30.53 overall Bermuda stat with that 47 is he's a little volatile when it comes to Bermuda golf courses. So he can strike the iron hot, finish in the top 3, or finish somewhere, maybe miss the cut or whatever. That's what causes this number to get higher. DJ is right behind him though, 44.44%. Again, the better overall Bermuda stat. Then we have Sergio, good stat as well. But then JT. So your top 3 guys for salaries on DK just happen to be some of your top Bermuda golfers. JT probably gets a little step down since, he's 4th in that Bermuda percentage. He ends up being 5th in overall Bermuda. I don't know. We might be grasping at straws there if we find that to be too big of an issue. Now, I do have 2021 Bermuda stats. I don't think it really matters all that much, but you can see DJ has a 2nd place finish, it looks like. I don't think he's played any other events, and I can't remember exactly where DJ played. That was Bermuda. I don't have that spreadsheet open right now, but you can also see Hideki Matsuyama has a 2nd place finish, as does Kevin Kisner, and then Harris English. These are your only, these 5 golfers, Harris English, Kevin Kisner, Matsuyama, DJ, and Brian Gay, only golfers to have a top 10 average finishing position in 2021 on Bermuda. Now, all of this combined with course history, you see Hideki Matsuyama and Dustin Johnson are your top 2 guys. All of that to me just screams play DJ and don't even think about it. DJ will be over 30% owned in my lineups. He has the ball flight for this course, the course history, the Bermuda, everything. It all matches up. It looks really good. Now, where is JT on this course history? He's won this tournament, but he is down 13th place when it comes to course history. 9.60, which is not terrible, but again, we only have 30 golfers here. You could make a claim that usually 10 of those golfers, although they've won, aren't really in the elite conversation. Let's say Jim Herman by chance. I think he played here last year. Not quite elite. Obviously got invited because he's won a golf tournament, but when you compare him to like Dustin Johnson, Justin Thomas, obviously it doesn't compare. So when we look at 9.60 versus 5, not too many points separate those golfers. But with everything included, DJ is your top rated course fit play. And when we combine everything, I think Jon Rahm has to be 2nd in that list. And then I guess we'd put Justin Thomas there. So in my rankings for course fit, I would put DJ 1st, Rahm 2nd, and Justin Thomas 3rd. That's no knock against Justin Thomas. I think he's a really good golfer, but that's how I would do it. Okay, let's wrap this up by giving our best course fit plays by each price tier. So 10K and above, already talked about it. DJ is my guy. 9K and above, Hideki Matsuyama is going to be my guy. Obviously, we saw course history is really good. If we want to use that Japan narrative, we certainly can. And also, overall, Bermuda's not terrible. I can't remember where he ranked in that, but still, 2021 Bermuda, really good as well. All right, so 8K and above, I'm probably going to give the slight nod to Sungjae Im. I would say my second guy is going to be Colin Morikawa. Morikawa, 27.75 when it comes to overall Bermuda. Finished here 7th last year. Sungjae Im, 34 when it comes to overall Bermuda. Have very similar. Gosh, I'm going to take that back. I'm going to give the slight edge to Colin Morikawa, but I do like Sungjae Im as well. Going into the 7K range, we only have 10 golfers to speak of. Kind of knew that. And I would say probably Mark Leishman is going to get the slight nod. Now, I'm not a huge Leishman guy. I really can't stand to play him all that much, primarily because, when you do roster him and you're following him along on Shot Tracker, you're going to find a couple drives that go way out of bounds. Somehow, I don't know. The guy doesn't hit very far, doesn't swing very hard compared to the other guys, so that's a relative term. And how his ball goes sideways as much as it does, I just don't know. So I'm gonna give the course history or the course fit nod to Mark Leishman, but I'm not thrilled playing Mark Leishman. We could give a little bit to Kevin Kisner. He's kind of a Bermuda's where he lives on, basically. I mean, like the grass, not the actual place. So he's done really well in Bermuda, has a really good percentage. So does Sergio. So don't sleep on Sergio, regardless of what I'm saying here. And then finally in the 6K range, obviously we see no one has very good overall Bermuda or top 10 Bermuda percentage. When it comes to the rest of the field, really, Kevin Na's the only one that doesn't stand out as terrible down here. I do think we're going to find a winning lineup, a winning DFS lineup, having at least 2 of these golfers. So we kind of have to make a stand on one of them. I mean, Robert Streb has not been good for a while, but obviously he just won. He has an 8th place average finishing position for this tournament. And I guess if I were to look, let me look as to why. He could have only played this one time. I'm sure he only did. Streb, where are you? Yeah, one time in 2015. So maybe I'll eat my words, take that back. But I don't mind Streb, honestly. We'll have to look at the strategy video tomorrow to really hunker down on some of these golfers that I like down here. But I think for the most part, obviously Lanto, hard not to play someone like him, which I probably will. Has really good value. Man, it's difficult. If Brian Gay is good to go, he's probably a good play as well. I don't mind Hudson Swafford, and I don't mind Robert Streb. So, okay, got to give you a ranking. It's going to be Lanto. That's kind of an easy one. It's kind of a given. We'll give Lanto the best 6K range for course fit. But also, just so you know, nobody down here really has the greatest Bermuda averages, especially for those that play a bunch of tournaments like the ones here in green. I mean, it's obviously you will have your own convictions. I do believe, I mean, these 3 golfers here that are around that 7K price tag, probably going to be good golfers. For those just listening, that's Carlos Ortiz, Ryan Palmer, and Lanto Griffin. I really like those 3. You could do worse. So with that being said, those were the best course fit plays, and we will end the video there. So appreciate all of you guys listening and watching. Please leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I will see you in a strategy video tomorrow. All right, bye.